My ex-girlfriend used me to pass on as straight. This may be a bit long of a post, so, yeah. I needed to vent this out because it's been 9 months since and I'm still struggling to move on. I met her in French class. We bonded over our hobbies, we liked the same things, we teased each other in class. It was only a matter of time until we started dating. At our first date, I took her to a place she was interested in visiting, a card game shop, since we shared interests in TCG. She laughed, she won a few rounds with her own deck, and we had a blast of a first date, even though it was by normal people's standards, unconventional. We kissed on the way home and we started dating. Thing is, for months all I could do was hold her hand. I was 20, she was 19, I was expecting something more early on since we grew closer and we started to think serious about our relationship. One day, I asked if we could go on a getaway weekend, rent a car, go to a hot spring nearby and relax in a spa hotel. She said she couldn't, that maybe later she would love to. A whole month passed by and I brought the subject on a joke and she lost it. She yelled, and once she realized what she did, she apologized. It was the first red flag. At this point, it would be 6 months into the relationship. We talked about intimacy after the last incident, but she said she wasn't interested, she liked how we were. I didn't. Eventually we did succeed in going to the hot spring and we actually made reservations for 2 rooms. It felt like she really didn't want to be intimate at all. Thing is, and this is my mistake in the story, I didn't give up on her. One day, at her parents' house, her father mentioned that he was glad that her daughter left behind her lesbian phase, that he was glad that she at least did her boyish hobbies with a boyfriend. Second red flag. She left the table after that, she was crying as if someone had punched her. She later explained that she did had a phase and that she was scared that it might have driven me away. She explained that her ex-boyfriend abused her, assaulted her, and she blocked herself to men afterwards. She started hanging out with her girlfriends and that led her into hooked up with a girl. Her parents found out and she ended relations with them. She was underage at the time. It didn't took long for things to get worse from this point. After a few weeks, she invited me to her place. She just finished moving out of her parents and she needed a hand. She had decided to be intimate with me so that I wouldn't run away, her words. I said I didn't want it that way, that we needed to understand what was wrong with her, of course with therapy. She totally lost it after this. I left her house and we didn't talk for a month. I thought it was it. There was more to it though. We later met at the mall and she held my arm asking me to talk. We talked for a while, over small stuff, updates on my cat, but she was hesitant. She started to apologize about her behavior, but most importantly, how she used me to appear straight. She admitted using me to pass as a straight to her parents so they would let her keep her grandma's home as her own. Turns out I was just a puppet for an inheritance. There's nothing more after this, no updates. I left and never saw her again. Part of me wished I had the guts to tell her parents about the deceit. Part of me still wishes her well. I know I was naive. I know she took advantage of me. I never expected to love someone and be discarded like that. Never again. Comment. I don't understand why people pull cons like these when they could just as easily, actually probably more easily, find someone who will play the part knowingly, consensually, and enthusiastically. If one of my female friends told me her folks were gonna hold up her rightful inheritance because she likes women, I would give Oscar-worthy performances of an imaginary relationship for her parents anytime she asked. Exactly. I explained this story to my partner who has a ton of friends in the LGBTQ community, and her first response is, those in the community know the dangers and pressures of being straight to parents, so why didn't she just ask some gay guy to pose as her BF for her family? She had options and chose the one that involves abusing this man. Your guy friends are correct. Your ex will likely use more men as she goes about her life. She probably only sees men as props for her to use in life. You may disagree with this statement because you still feel for her. But looking at her actions, she never felt the same for you as you did for her. You respected her and were willing to wait for her to work through her. But, she showed no respect for you, lying about the reason she didn't want you to be intimate. Then, she was willing to give you just to keep you around, super disrespectful, making intimate transactional instead out of a desire for emotional intimacy. Finally, the only reason she stopped using you is that she got what she wanted, the house/inheritance. You were useless to her after that. I suspect she only told you to ensure you didn't come back to try to reconcile in the future. Essentially, to let you know she was permanently done with you. If she never gets exposed, she may never stop using men. If you truly want peace of mind, the best thing to do is to leave her right where she is. I promise you that telling on her as a get back and won't make you feel better, it'll just weigh heavier on your heart. Make peace with your situation and move on, you'll find someone that'll truly love and care for you. Philip Schofield. I wasn't surprised in the slightest when he came out. But I had no idea he was married to a woman with children. My lesbian co-worker was raving about how brave he was, and we got into an argument when I suggested it was cowardly for him to have tricked his wife into a sham marriage and wasted 20 years of her life. And then it comes out he was having an inappropriate relationship with a younger man. A young man he'd first met as a schoolboy. I usually get downvoted to hell by angry lesbians when I make this comment. I've made it about gay men too. Nobody cares about the guy because of some prevailing thought that men deserve it. Man, I can't even begin to imagine the pain that you went through. She literally could have done so many other things rather than string you along for months and hurt you so much. She could have just stayed single, moved away from her parents, or maybe even get a trusted male friend to pretend as a boyfriend just to get her parents off her back. But nope. She wasted several months of your life that you could have spent on someone else who actually loves you and is not just using you as her beard. Oh, dude, that's rough. I would feel traumatized too. I'm sorry you had to go through with that. That is some high-level manipulation. I'm sure your trust is shaky if it even exists. I'm really sorry you went through this. If it's any consolation, she might not have just used you to appear straight. Sometimes folks doubt they're intimate, try to be hetero, or even have some level of feelings outside their default intimate preference. It might have been easier for her to tell you that than to admit to messy feelings and issues. Easier for you to hate her and cut contact. That said, if I was you, I'd try to figure out a way to know when she is about to collect on the inheritance. Send her an invoice for beard rental services, LOL. Story 2. My wife abandoned me 2 months ago to find herself. My wife Mary's family has a history of dementia, developing memory issues in their mid to late 50s. Her mom, grandmother, and several other relatives on her mom's side have developed dementia. Her mom lived with us for 4 years until earlier this year. Father is dead. Our kids are independent and out of the house. Oldest is in her last semester of college and the younger enlisted. The last 4 years were tough on us, our kids. Daughter moved for college but moved back for a bit during COVID, and our marriage. Living with someone with dementia is brutal. We had talked a lot the last year about taking the remaining college funds, our regular savings, sell or rent the house. We were ready to downsize anyway, quit our jobs and travel for a year or until the money runs out. We just had to wait for her mom to move into a home. I understand her anxiety about developing dementia and I was burned out. You lived through COVID working remote, a wife working remote, a college and high school student taking remote classes, and a mill with dementia, and see how you hold up. Space finally opened up and we were able to move her mom into a care facility. I finally thought I had a chance to breathe. When we moved Mary's mom out, Mary's mental health took a huge downward spiral. I went from caring for her mom to caring for her. She felt guilty about putting her mom in a home and had lots of anxiety about developing dementia. Our plan was to start our traveling summer 2024. 2 months ago I get home and she's left a note. My friends call it Exhibit A. Basically she was going on our trip without me. She had quit her job, took most of the savings, and wasn't sure when she'd be back. Maybe a year, maybe sooner. She knew I'd understand. Her location is turned off and my calls go directly to VM. I texted the kids a picture of the note. We have our own checking accounts for direct deposits of our paychecks, but we'd transfer most into a joint account to pay the household bills and savings. We both had access to main savings account. We have joint credit cards we used for household expenses. The 2 cars and mortgage are joint. We both also have our own small savings accounts, our own retirement accounts, equally funded, and our own credit cards for gifts and fun things. I closed all joint cards and accounts. I waited a month to see if she'd come back, hopefully before she spent our savings. After receiving only one text the first month, I went to a lawyer. She basically said there was very little to do right now, other than change the beneficiaries of my retirement accounts and life insurance. Yay, my wife gets nothing else if I die alone while she's having our adventures. It was only a month and there was no way to serve her papers. My lawyer advised me to keep paying the mortgage and the cars. The cost of trying to get a judge to approve the sale of joint assets was more than making payments. I didn't want to ruin my credit by letting one of our car get repossessed, but I can't sell it because she's on the title. I get random texts and she sporadically posts on Instagram. Of course she has comments turned off. I want to block her so bad, but my lawyer advised me that it's better to maintain a communication channel that's not through our kids. Her last post was from Hawaii. She put in the comments how great a husband I was for letting her take this trip. I'm barely making it paying 2 cars, a mortgage, household bills, insurance, hoping there are no emergencies because I have no savings, and she's enjoying our trip. I'm so pissed at her. I helped take care of her mom for 4 years, and her when she fell apart after her mom moved into a memory care home, and she returns the favor by abandoning me. I'll never get to take this trip and have to put off retirement. My only solace is the kids are pissed at her, but they'll probably forgive her eventually. I'm no fool, she's hooking up with guys. She looks good, she'll have zero problem getting men. I texted her and asked if she was sleeping around. A week later she responded that she wasn't. So, I'm drinking alone on a Friday night and she's somewhere, probably on a beach, enjoying life. Comment. Tell your daughter to pass along the message that you're filing for divorce for abandonment and see if this gets you some traction. I don't generally like the idea of going through kids, but they need to have your back on this. Maybe even tell her they'll cut her off as well if she keeps doing this to you and the family. Maybe even start posting about how she's living the good life and letting your friends and family know what kind of pickle this has put you in. Everyone probably assumes you're on board if you're not purposefully driving the true narrative. Yeah, you'd think she would. I still think that controlling the narrative online is necessary. There will be fallout resulting from the divorce, if you don't get out in front of this, informing people she actually knows, other than strangers on Reddit. She will make herself to look like she's a victim of a deranged and bitter husband. I think you'll get the most mileage by applying pressure through friends and family and the court. I know court is expensive, but you're going to pay one way or the other, you might as well take the hit now. Also, I'd bet a pie with good internet sleuthing skills could help you find her much faster than you think. She has to be leaving a digital footprint since she's still posting and using her phone. It's amazing what you can find out about a person if you know how to look for the information. Man, this scares the shit out of me. Brother, you need to file for abandonment. This is real and legitimate. Couple this with the fact that she's possibly cheating and she'll lose everything. You could even take her retirement as well. Good luck. Keep your head up. Keep us updated. Edit. Keep track of all the evidence for your lawyer. Screenshot her IG, texts, emails. Go into her accounts and find everything you can. She thinks you're weak and will take her back, but get evidence of everything and anything you can. Don't let her screw you any more than she has. Keep control and record everything. She can only screw herself. That's rough, but it sounds like you're handling it responsibly. My ex, we've got about a decade on you, pulled something during her midlife crisis last year that ended in our divorce. It was rough at first because we were 20+ years married. But we've managed to stay friendly. We're actually closer now than before, even though she has a boyfriend, which is why we divorced. It didn't take me long to find a girl I'm absolutely crazy about, and the feeling is mutual. For us older folks, it's pretty easy to date now and find the right person. Just watch out for scammers on the dating apps. Go to the gym, watch what you eat, and do what your lawyer tells you to do.